Welcome back. I'm back for stage one of the April series. This is the first one of the stages. I got this out early, so I'll put this video out tonight. This is Monday morning. I just finished the race. It's been a while since I raced. Last race I did was March 18th. I'm trying to put a video up to what I've been doing lately. I'm getting back into racing this month, starting with this one. I'm also trying to do the Krieg races. I'm gonna try to do 30 races in 30 days. I mean, some days I'm gonna have to do about 2 or 3 of them. Like today, I'm leaving out of here today to go to Virginia. I won't be back until Wednesday night, Thursday morning. That'll be the next time I probably race, Thursday afternoon, somewhere in that evening. Now, what I'm gonna be doing is cringe races, and they all gonna be Cat C. All my cringe races are gonna be Cat C, and I'm gonna try to do 30 races in 30 days, at least see where I podium at on all these races. So that's gonna be a fun run. Hopefully the first one I can start Thursday. I'll try to get 2. I'm gonna tell you what, I took off like a 12-day break, and man, did I feel it today. This is my first race back. I felt this race all the way through. I also say, please like and subscribe to my video. Please, please, please like and subscribe. I'm also trying to get as many likes as I do views. Y'all been helping me out with the views, but help me get the likes, help me get the 250 subscribers. We're in the month of April. I'm trying to get it by the month of May. Come on, help me out, help me out. Get me close to it at least, that we don't pass, but let's go for passing it. Also, I want to say thank you for comments that y'all leave. Hey, Pro Developer Service, I've been meaning to respond back. I know it only takes a few moments, but I've been meaning to respond back to you about that, about the drafting. And from what I can tell, some people have told me when they draft behind that it is a better draft. Maybe the game does take into circumstances that I'm a bigger guy, so I give a bigger weight. Because you can see when I'm drafting behind people, especially on this race, just a slight downhill where I get behind somebody, my draft numbers gets up in the 300s and 400s. And it's real easy. So when somebody get behind me, I can just imagine how they do when they get behind me. So I don't know. Hey, maybe one day we'll meet up for a race and you can really tell me if there's a true difference or not. Also, I'm gonna put your name up here, man. Vel, I know you raced against me. You told me you was in the black and red. Hey, look, I've been meaning to come back to you, but I've been doing a lot of stuff in my garden, getting ready for the spring. And so I've been a little busy and racing. I've been planning to race, but this month has been so chaotic for me. So I'm back on it. I'll get back in. I'll put it this way. This month, I've only gotten about 120 miles the whole month of March. When normally I'm putting in almost 400 to 500 miles a month. So that gives you a slight idea of how bad March was for me. So let's get on into this race. 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're off. And as we take off on this race, you can see what I'm doing now with C's is I try to stay in the draft the whole time. Now I'm gonna tell you, this is a April Fool's thing where they put the little Apple Vision on our heads, and it really, I know they didn't plan for it long because it was blocking a lot of my races. Sometimes I would be behind somebody and that vision, you can see it here. The vision thing was getting in the way and I couldn't see who was in front of me. I'm gonna run this race one more time this week for sure. I'm pretty sure I can place him first. With that gap that I had taken off, look at my heart rate. It never ever came down. It's been high all this morning, and I know even when I was on my hydro, it was quite high. And so I know it was because I've been taking off so many days, and this was my first coming back in, and I went straight into a Class C race. So you can imagine my heart was probably just like, man, what are you doing? I put it this way, if I would have did a D race, I would have probably won with ease. The flatter the races are, and that's why I'm doing cringes, because they're set up for a real short burst, but they're about 12 to 15 miles long, somewhere in about 10 to 12, 15 miles long. And that's just long enough right now where I can just race. Now, I couldn't have done this race today on a 20 miler. My legs would have started yelling at me after a minute, but I was fine here. It's just I couldn't get my heart rate back down. You know, I like having my heart rate down in the 130s, 140s. It never really dropped past 150. It went down just slightly, but like I said, I hadn't raced in 12 days, so it was just me getting back into the push of things. And then, you know, you find as a guy who's racing, after I missed that first week, I'm like, well, I'm gonna get back into it. And things come up. It's easier when you go longer without racing. So that's why I try not to miss, you know, more than 3 or 4 days, because it becomes easy to let it go. So for anybody riding, if you get in a gap or get in a crutch where you start missing, just go back and get on the bike. Even if it's not a race, just go back and get on the bike, because what happens is you find a way to make it easier for yourself to make excuses not to get on the bike. And that's what ends up happening. So make sure you watch that from now if you're doing it, you're having that problem. Now, as you see, we riding this thing, and I wasn't trying. This is a deep. We just getting ready to get up this hill, so I kind of sped up just a little bit to get in front on this hill. What I was trying to do is just stay kind of even with them, and you can see what we were doing. We were riding really nice on this thing. It's not a hard race. It really not. It's a fast race. Don't get me wrong with that. It's a fast race, but it's not as hard as you think it should be as a race. Now, I'm gonna tell you, there was a fraud mistake I made in here. At about 95, if you look on the map right there, there's a dip when you come around again. Right there, that dip is where I should have started making my attack. I thought we was gonna end this race on the hill, so I was saving a feather waiting on the hill to come, so I was gonna make my attack on the hill. I had measured it out, I had figured it out. I knew right here I can hold a feather. I was making this attack in my head. That's where I was gonna make my attack at. Lo and behold, it didn't end on the hill. And that's another thing I'm talking about, knowing the race. I didn't know this one. I hadn't done it. In fact, when I posted at the end, you'll see I had 3 personal best on this race, and it's reason for it because I hadn't done it that much. So I really was lost. I was at a loss for words on what to do with this race. So I was trying to map it mentally while I was riding. But you gotta remember, look at my heart rate. At the beginning of the race, my heart rate is never like that. So you can imagine I'm kind of feeling this race really well. So as we come down through here, I'm looking at the race and I'm going, okay, cool, time to get back into a groove. I'm trying to let them catch up to me. I'm not trying to be out front. I want them to pass me so I can graft off of somebody. But you gotta remember, we're coming downhill, so I'm not really putting that much into it. I'm trying to get my heart rate down. And it's kind of iffy when I'm waiting on people coming down the hill when I can put into it, but I don't want to waste myself. So I can't push like I normally do if I was in a D-class race where I would get out there and just push and push and push. I cannot do that with this race. I have to take my time and just come down with wait for them to come back up and catch up to me. So that's what I did. I just waited on them to catch up to me, and then I got back out there and rode with them. Now, as you see, we were riding, and I see the guy get out in front every time, but I don't chase him down. I'm determined to let the rest of the group walk him down. So I know he's a false taker. I forgot what somebody called him. I think Pro Development Services told me what he called. But someone who jumps out in front and tries to get off in the pack. I know, I look up the thing, we got 34% left. I can't keep this kind of pace up that long. So I know I need to stay where I'm at in that pack. So that's what I do, and I let the pack catch him up. Now, when we get back around here, you know, this dip right here is where I should have made my tap at the end of this race. I'm thinking we're going up the hill at the end of the race. We're not. I should have made my attack right here at the end of the race. You'll see what I'm talking about at the end. So as we come around, I'm riding with the group, but in my head right now, I'm going, because we got the hill coming, I need to conserve as much energy as I can. So what I decided to do is sit inside the pack. This is the reason, another reason I didn't race the last couple of weeks. I didn't want to do the, I could have found other races to do, but in my head, I had made up the excuse that I didn't want to do that championship season or whatever, where they took the Swift Games, but they took control of the bike. It didn't never work out for me, really. Each race I did with it, it just didn't work out right for me. So I didn't like that. And that's where a lot of people was, and I wanted to race against a lot of racers. I just don't want to just be me. I think in this race alone, it was like 117 guys, 115 guys. I see it when I put up the Swift camera angle on the Swift draft, the Swift stats on this race. So as we're riding, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm just gonna stay, you see at the top is 103 people in it. I'm thinking to myself, I'm gonna stay right here in the middle of this pack and just ride with them. I'm not trying to get left behind, I'm just riding with them. And I know that my big concern is right now, so once we get to a hill, that's where I'm gonna have a problem. Now, we get up, you're going up this hill, I put in a little bit more because I don't want them to lead me too much. And now what I was trying to do is count when do I hit the feather. Now, if you look at this hill coming up at the halfway mark, just when you get to the top, there's a slight dip, about right, I want to say right in here is where I hit the feather, right here. I hit the feather right here. And what it does, you'll notice I hit it because I started to climb back up between everybody. And it get that little 40% of, well, I think it's 10% weight off. So you gotta remember, that's almost like 40 pounds from me. So with what I'm putting out, when that little 40 pounds come off, I'm fine. Now, once we get up to the top of this thing, you can notice that, I'm catching back up to everybody because we're getting up to a flat. As we get up to the flat, you can see that I'm catching right back up to everybody. and I'm coming back up to where they at, and it's not hard for me to do. In fact, you notice I'm not putting out as much as I normally do because we can really go down here and it's pretty much a flat. It was a negative flat. You see that negative mark I've told y'all about? That's a negative flat. So as we come back around, we come back down to the negative, and all I'm doing now is trying to get it up to 50 kilometers an hour. And then what I try to do from then is just ride down. Now you'll see somebody get behind me and try to drag. You see, get up in front of me, and we go ready to hit this hill and come down. Now watch what I do. I get right in front of me. Now watch, he tries to get behind me. Now if you look at me, I'm not putting a lot of pedals in, but I'm leaving him because of my weight. I just left him. And it's nothing, he has the pedal to keep up with me, which gives me a little bit of an equalizer, meaning that they're a little bit more tired as we come back around this thing. Now, like I said, if I race this race again, I'm pretty sure I may be able to pull it off. Because if I'm looking at it, last I told you when I was looking at it earlier, what I was trying to do was time where I needed to take off. So I look at this and we got 60% of the race left. So I know, okay, we got one more hill for sure. So we're coming back up around this hill again now. There's a dip, like I told you, that we're gonna come to. Now, what I'm trying to do now is trying to conserve my energy. I'm trying to get it to a point where I can just relax and ride with them, but it's just not letting me do it. Everybody keeps coming back behind me. Now, what I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen here is that band, it gets on my nerves right here, man. It really does, because you wanna see what's going on in front of you. You're trying to pick the lines that you wanna take into a turn and all that, and this thing starts to blind you, so all I do is just kind of get back into it and just kind of pedal with them in front of me. But this was very frustrating, man. And I gotta really be honest about it. It was very frustrating with this thing kept putting it in front of you, and you're trying to work around it. That's what you're trying to do. You really are trying to work around it. So here's where I should have made that attack at, right here on the last one lap. Right here's where you want to make it. When I come out here, look at this. I'm coming out of this thing, I can actually get it up to about 50 kilometers. I could have held that off because we would have been at about 95, 96% right now. I should have did it right there, and that way I would have been fine. You notice how when we come out that dip, I'm holding off now, and I would have did it right at the bottom, would hit the feather so the power would have stayed in it coming up that hill. I know that now. The next time I race, that's going to be a part of my strategies. Is at that dip, when I come down in that dip, and if we go back up, I'm going to hit that feather, and that'll get me to the top with the speed that I already have. And that's what I'm trying to do. I wish it had an arrow. It really worked out. Because at the end of the race is right in here, and I did not know that. So in my head, I'm thinking we're going to go back up the hill, and I'm trying to time where I was going to work it out. And that's why I've been working the timing on that feather. You see, when we get back up halfway up this hill, you'll see I'm going to start pulling away from people because I'm working on the timing of that feather. Because I was anticipating right at the end of the top of that hill is where I was going to have to make the surge. And I know that with C's going up the hill is really stressful for me because with them outside of everything else, that's the true great equalizers for me with them. So we're riding, and I'm looking at everybody else heart race, and I'm like, okay, cool. Everybody's up there kind of with me because lately I've been rolling at about 160. I can max out about 170, 175. I'm really starting to get up there, and so it's doing because I'm doing a lot of racing now. Today is because I haven't raced in a minute. And I won't race again until Wednesday, so it's gonna be a good chance to get a good rest in and then take off after that. But man, I ain't gonna lie to you. I was like, wow, man. So I'm taking off on this one. I'm coming down the road, and I'm looking around trying to make sure. Well, man, I hit the feather now. If you notice, I'm starting to catch up to people. I was starting to pass people. I had hit the feather there. So now I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the top, and I see 77, and this is what I'm talking about. That got on my nerves so bad, man. That blinding, that I can't wait. Right, that it just kept getting in my way, and I'm trying to. And each time I look ahead, I'm trying to strategize, and you got this big band thing all in your way, and that dark end. I was so happy. I'm so happy when this thing ends today. When I come back, I should have not deal with this no more, please. So as we're coming down to the end of this thing, I'm looking at it, and I go, okay, cool. We're gonna go back down, and we come down. When we come down this road, I know that when we come back, God, that was getting on my nerves, man. I'm sorry, y'all. It just kept aggravating me. Let me know if I'm the only one who was aggravated by it. And so, we were riding, and I'm looking at everybody who's in front of me. I'm looking at how we're coming along, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, cool. What we're gonna do is we're gonna ride this thing out right where we at. And I'm looking at, we're coming down the hill, and I'm just trying to stay with everybody. Now, if I really thought about it, I should have just kept a little bit of more power in and started pushing everybody here, I would have been fine. But because my heart rate was so high, it caused me to try to strategize different way. I had to save as much as I could for that hill. I'm thinking we coming up on the hill. Ooh, boy, I'm telling you, if I had only known that if I would have just done it at the dip, this would have been a different race. I don't know what I was doing. The math was wrong in my head. I think I was frustrated and I was a little bit tired. Look at my heart rate. It's 156, 159. It's in at 160. Normally, if I'm doing a race, I'm in the 140 somewhere, and I got plenty. I always talk about having plenty of room to sprint. I have no room to sprint. Really, I don't. I got a little bit of room, but if I would have used this dip correctly, I would have been fine. I was trying to stay with them right here in this pack, but if I had used this dip just right, this would have gave me the boost I need to get up in front with them. I had let them get a little too far ahead. So we get to the dip, I'm thinking, and another thing is, I was thinking that we were going up the hill, so I kind of stopped coming after them. If I would have went after them right here, it would have been a totally different story. It really would have, because I would have been able to walk them down. But I was too busy thinking, and I noticed everybody come up behind me, and you notice I'm riding, and I look up, and I'm going 90, 95, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going, and am I misjudging this thing? That's why I'm slowing it down. You know, so look at it. I'm number 16. I'm in 16th place, and I'm thinking to myself, did I misjudge this thing? It's at 96, and I'm going to myself, I gotta go. I gotta go. I just gotta go. I don't know how to misjudge this, but I gotta go now. I gotta walk down people. And I started coming up through the ranks of this thing, and I'm thinking to myself, God, I let them get too far ahead of me. And I'm at number 6, and I'm sitting behind them, and that's when I know it's 97, and now I'm going, okay, I really gotta go now. Because now I'm in 5th place, and I'm coming up on 2nd, and now I know, okay, oh man, I waited too long, and I see them guys take off in front, and it was at a negative. If I would have hit it just right, I would have caught them. But I let myself get caught out there just a little too long. Man, I should have went at that 97. I would have totally fine. I would have caught both of them. But I had to let them get just too far ahead of me, and it was just too much to make up. Man, I want to thank y'all for following me. I want to thank y'all for racing with me. Have a great day. Enjoy your week. I'll be back at it. And remember, I'm doing the Cringe Class races this week. With that being said, ride on.